So this is your first time, Stu Bennett. I have great news for you, everyone here at the APTER Chat. This is not bad news at all. This is all good news. The man formerly known as Wade Barrett, Stu Bennett, man who is a 5-time Intercontinental Champion. He was a king of the ring and so much more in WWE. We now have him in his role as himself, Stu Bennett. And I said to him a minute ago when I saw this, I said, I'm going to call him for the Jewish high holidays here. You look like Rabbi Stu.
Maybe I could pull that off in my next movie.
I don't know. We've never even thought about that. Never thought of it. So,
well, my name in the movie we are promoting today, I Am Vengeance Retaliation, is John Gold. And the guy who wrote the script, Ross Boyask, actually wrote it as a Jewish character. So there's a little Jewish tie-in somewhere. So I am John Gold. We don't really reference his religion in the film, but his name is John Gold. So
no, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. I want to talk about the movie, but before we get to the movie, and I'm dying to see the movie, and it will be available in a digital version to everybody, and I can't wait to see it as well. I'm going to have a vengeance movie party here, but you can't bring machine guns and stuff like that. None of that in Apter's Alley. What I want to talk to you about before we get to the movie is a lot of people who are wrestlers. You've been a bare knuckles fighter, wrestler, and a lot of people when they walk away from wrestling, and I know in 2016 you pretty much called it a day. They always, half a year later, come back. Another half a year later, come back. Then they tried out back in WWE. You walked away. Do you regret just, that's it? It was kind of
no. I mean,
broadcasting.
Regardless of what came after my decision to walk away in 2016, it was the right decision. I could have been unemployed for the next 4 years, and it would have still been the right decision. That's how I felt at the time. I felt very fed up with what I was doing on a daily basis. I was upset with some people I was working with, and I knew that whatever happened, whatever came next, I wasn't going to be staying there, at least for the foreseeable future. So it just so happens that certain things have gone very well, one of which is the acting stuff has gone well. I've had opportunities to host TV shows called Ultimate Beastmaster, and I'm also a commentator now. I've done some commentary in the UK for a couple of companies there, but now I'm kind of the regular commentator for NWA now, working with Billy Corgan and David Lagana there. So I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying the variety in life. And of course, let's not forget, when I was wrestling 250 nights a year and constantly traveling, my personal life and relationships really took a hit, and I wasn't able to maintain any form of balance in life. Now I live with my girlfriend. I have a great life. I go on vacations when I want. So everything's going great. I can't complain at all, and I can't have any regrets about a decision I made 4 years ago when, in all honesty, things have turned out as well as they possibly could for me.
Yeah, and you look great. So now in terms of wrestling, so by the way, the hat is backwards because his hat is backwards.
Because Stu's hair is all over the place. It's been 4 months since he had a cut, so Stu is taming his wild mane by putting the hat on.
My comb over is still well and alive. Yeah. So we're gonna keep
the bald guys have really come into their own these last 4 months.
Well, it's not totally bald. It's the comb over. It's like that's part of my trademark. But what I wanted to talk about in terms of Wade Barrett, the wrestler, what was some of the unfinished business you had in the WWE when you left? The wrestler, Wade Barrett.
Really, the only thing that I think I didn't achieve that I aimed to achieve was to become the first British world champion. There have been some great wrestlers before me who didn't win it. And currently, we have our first British world champion. I'm thrilled for Drew McIntyre. Great friends with him. I've known him for 15 plus years. We still speak regularly to this day. And I'm sure I was one of the first to congratulate him. Great guy, very happy for him. But really, if there was anything, that was probably the one minor regret I had. And when in 2015, I really came to terms with the fact that I wasn't going to get the opportunity to win it. That wasn't going to be in my future. It became a lot easier to decide, well, I've pretty much achieved everything else that I was going to achieve here. That's the one thing left. And if I'm not going to get that, then what am I really staying around for? So that was probably the only thing.
So let's do a rewind here. Okay, you get a call tomorrow from we want to bring you in against Drew McIntyre. You get the match. what happens in that match?
Well, the one match would be fantastic. You just come in, one match, me and Drew McIntyre, and I win the title. But then it's everything else that goes into it: the travel, the dealing with writers, the being lied to,
No, I'm
the
just
being
talking about
beat up
one night.
constantly.
One
The
night.
one match would be fantastic. That's Rocky stuff, That's okay. All you need to do is come in for this one match. You're going to win the title, and then we're going to retire. It's lunacy because that would never happen. But yeah, okay, that would be a nice rubber stamp, and I'd take it in a heartbeat. And Drew knows as well as anyone, as talented and as brilliant a wrestler he is. He knows deep down that I kick his ass, and I think everyone on the planet is aware of that. And I've always been kind of. Myself and Drew are very close friends. We used to live together, but I've always been slightly older. I've always been almost the big brother of the relationship and, kind of guiding him. And the truth is the big brother always kicks the little brother's ass. And that's what would happen if I ever got in a ring with Drew McIntyre.
Interesting. No, that's great. Is there one opponent who was up in the WWE when you were there that you never got to wrestle that you would have been your prime WWE match?
It's really hard to say because I pretty much wrestled everyone who was anyone in my time there. I even got to wrestle Undertaker. So that itself these days is almost impossible to do that, certainly in my time with the company. So I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. Technically, myself and CM Punk did have a little match, which in all honesty was a bit of a joke match. So probably in my time there, the only significant person of note would have been him. Brock would have been interesting, but I don't think I'd have done too well in that time. I never wrestled Brock, but I genuinely don't know what I'd do with him anyway, in all honesty. So I think CM Punk, if anyone, I would have liked to perhaps have a real match or a real feud with him, especially in that period of time when he got super hot, when he did the Summer of Punk and all that pipe bomb and all that stuff. I think that was a period in time, if anyone who got to work with him was going to have a lot of fun because he was the highest thing in pro wrestling. So that, if anyone, would have been it.
So now we move on with your life, and we see on the big screen, there's Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and then there's John Cena come in, and then we also see Stu Bennett going into acting. Now, is this something while you were doing your career in WWE and even before that you were pursuing?
No, not at all, actually. I think there's a lot of parallels between being a performer in WWE. You're playing characters, you're saying lines, and I was always more drawn to the storylines and character and vocal aspects of pro wrestling than anything else. So I always enjoyed that. So I think there's a natural move for a lot of people in the wrestling world to go and do some acting, especially in action films. But I was very lucky while I worked for WWE. They actually chose to put me in a couple of their WWE Studios productions. I did one in 2012 called Dead Man Down, and I did another in 2015 called Eliminators. And that really got me a little taste of acting, got me some contacts in that world, and made me start thinking, wow, this is something I enjoy. So maybe if future opportunities come up, it's something I should take a look at. And fortunately for me, just before I left WWE, some opportunities did come up. So I was very lucky there.
Yeah, did you find yourself kind of a natural when you were starting to do films?
I think I've always been one of the more natural people I've been around in wrestling when it comes to the talking and presenting myself. And I think that's shown through my history of promo work. At any time I had success in WWE, be it Nexus or Bad News Barrett, the two things those moments had in common with the fact that I was constantly getting the mic and constantly getting to talk. And what got me over in my time in wrestling was the mic, not my wrestling skills. So I was always aware that I had an ability that was probably above average there. In addition to that, I commentate. I used to commentate in 2008, 2009 with Dusty Rhodes and FCW, and I was always a good talker. So for somebody with my skill set or my background or my natural ability talking, as I'll put it, I think moving into some acting roles is a very natural fit. And there's definitely tweaks you need to make. There's differences in performance when you're performing a character in front of 10,000 screaming fans versus performing a camera 2 feet from your face, and you get to retake this 20 times if you need to. So there's definitely subtle differences.
I'm sure you do not have a stunt double.
No, that's the thing. They save a lot of money when they hire me. That's the biggest benefit of hiring me. I have to do all my own stunts. So so yeah, it's definitely a cash saver for them.
Have you been in some stunts in the new movie I Am Vengeance, Retaliation? Have you done some stunts in that movie that were kind of made you edgy a little bit?
There was one I did. So I'm holding this big machine gun at one point, both hands, and my job is to do a kind of ninja roll from one barrel I'm hiding behind to another crate. And while I'm doing this, I'm supposed to not scratch the guns. The guns are very expensive, and the guy who hires them to us doesn't like his guns getting scratched because a scratched gun is not worth much anymore. He can't use it in a lot of the shots. So the key thing is protect the gun. Of course, while I'm doing this, halfway through my roll, I realize I've never done a no-handed roll before in my life, especially holding a big machine gun. And I plant my head, flat into the concrete, roll up, get up a little dazed, try to play it off that I'm okay, and hide behind my crate again. And I think, oh wow, that hurt. My head's ringing. I'm seeing stars, and I think at least I've got it though. And they say, oh, we didn't quite get the shot. Can you do that again? We've got to do a reshoot.
Oh.
And then I had to do it a second. So yeah, there's a little bit of that, but nothing I'm not used to from getting kicked in the head every night in wrestling.
That's what I was going to say. Now that when they see this in Connecticut, you might get the call, get him a gun and let's have a
that could be my new character, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that will fly these days.
Tell us about who you play in the film and what the synopsis, what the plot.
So I play a character called John Gold. I'm an ex-Special Forces soldier, and I used to work back in the day with a character called Sean Teague, who was played by Vinnie Jones. Now, myself and Vinnie Jones in the film, we used to work together, but he went rogue. He killed a bunch of my men on a mission, and then he went away and became a mercenary. So I'm putting together a team of other Special Forces guys to go track him down and bring him to justice. He, of course, has surrounded himself by some rogues, and we end up in a bunch of car chases, explosions, shootouts, punch-ups, until hopefully we get to bring him to justice. So it's a real lean film in terms of the runtime.
The finish away here.
I'm not going to give any finish away. We're not going to tell you what happens. He might get away. He might not. Maybe I'm done for. But in terms of the film, it's an ode to those 80s action films that I grew up with. Something I think cinema has kind of moved away from now, but there's still a lot of people who love that stuff, including myself and the director Ross Poyask. It's the Arnold Schwarzenegger type films of the 80s, the Sylvester Stallone stuff from back there, the Rambos, the Platoons, even the Commandos, Predator, all that stuff is what I grew up on. I love that stuff. There's some cheesy dialogue in there, some one-liners, the kind of stuff that Arnold will pull off with panache. And we're trying to bring that back a little, and it's a 90-minute blast. It's a sprint from start to finish. There's no breathing room, action-packed, and there's no political message in there. There's no social commentary in there. It's just supposed to be switch off, have a vacation from real life for 90 minutes, get your adrenaline pumping, laugh a couple of times, hopefully get drawn into a bit of a storyline, and at the end you've had some fun. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to give people a bit of fun.
Yeah, like I said, I've got the screener. I'm going to watch it over the weekend. And now I was a huge fan of all the Schwarzenegger movies and all, of course, the Rocky movies. And, it's just great. It gets your blood flowing and it gets you really on the edge of your seat, and you're just having a wonderful time living in a fantasy world that someone else is bringing to you. And yeah, it's great.
That's cool. We are fans of pro wrestling, and pro wrestling is the exact same thing. It's nonsense, it's cheesy, it's silly, it's ridiculous, but hopefully after watching for a couple of hours, it's taking you away from whatever else is going on in your life. The wife might be yelling at you, you can't pay your bills, there's a virus outside, everything's going wrong in life.
Are you spying on my house?
We all have the same problems, Bill. That's the thing. Hopefully at the end of watching some wrestling, hopefully it's put you in a better mood and you've had some fun, you've enjoyed yourself and forgot about world's problems for a little while. That's what the entertainment I like to be involved in is all about. That's what pro wrestling is all about, and that's what I hope this film also does for people.
Who was your action film hero, if you had to pick one?
If I had to pick one, it's got to be Arnold. I think Arnold in Predator, Arnold in Running Man, Terminator, Commando. There's just so much amazing stuff that man did. And I think of all his films, Predator is my number one. And obviously we had Jesse the Body Ventura in there, who puts in one of the all-time great performances in action films. And so many great one-liners. And wow, what a movie that is. So, I mean, Sylvester Stallone too is right up there, but if I had to go with one, it would be Arnie.
Of course, those Rocky movies never get old. They really don't. They just keep Creed and they just keep coming out. Where can people find you on social media?
Okay, so social media, my Twitter is at Stu Bennett and my Instagram is at Stu Bennett Official. I don't have any others. I don't have Facebook or Snapchat or any of the other new ones that are coming out these days. I'm old school. I'm Twitter. If they still had MySpace, I'd still have that. But that one went down the drain a few years ago. So I had to upgrade and go to Twitter and Instagram. So that's where you'll find me. All the information about the film, there's trailers on there. You can go check it out. And the movie I Am Vengeance Retaliation, it's out in the US on June 19th. I'm not sure when this is getting shown, Bill, but Friday, June 19th, which we're filming
2020,
today.
By the way, just in case.
2020, yeah.
Yeah.
And in the UK, the film comes out on July 13th, and the rest of the world will follow very soon after. It's available on all VOD platforms, all major VOD platforms like iTunes and Yahoo Play and Google Play. Is it? Come on, I'm old. I don't know. What I'm saying. Amazon and all these other ones. So.
By the way, when you talk about, of course, you being from Manchester and Preston, one of my matches that I would have loved to have seen you against, and I don't know if you two ever locked up, would have been Doug Williams.
Yeah, we had a match once, actually. It was in my early days of pro wrestling. And I want to put this in perspective because I know the UK, I know there's a lot of fans who watch the show. They're aware that the British wrestling scene over the past kind of 6 or 7 years has been fantastic. All these great upshoot companies. When I wrestled there, it was awful. And almost everybody wrestling in the UK was really bad. And there was one guy who was the beacon of hope, and that was Doug Williams. So coming through, we were all bad wrestlers, wrestling against other bad wrestlers. There was Doug who'd been out in the US, he'd been out in Japan, and he was really good. So if you got a chance to work with Doug, it was like hitting the jackpot. And there was one night, I remember it very well, I got to wrestle Doug. I was nervous. I was very young. I was inexperienced. I've been wrestling about 1.5 years. And he led me through, at that point, the best match I'd ever had in my career. He was just a great human being, and he gave me a lot of confidence that, wow, if I follow someone who's actually really good, I can actually put in this good match. And still good friends with Doug to this day. We cross paths occasionally, of course, as you tend to do in pro wrestling. And what a great man. What a great career he had.
Yes. Classic wrestler. I want to thank you so much for joining us here. And remember, it's I Am Vengeance Retaliation. And look for his face to keep getting out there in the world of action films. So can't wait. This is Bill Apter down here at the After Chat. And have you got any bad news for us?
No bad news. As long as all the reviews continue to be good for the film, I will only give you good news. And that's what I'm getting back so far on the movie. As soon as a bad review comes in, I'll let you know, and that's when I will be delivering
I'm sure there won't be one. We will see you, everybody, eventually at the matches and at the movies.